Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Mike McDonald, Director of Communications at the Catholic League, and joining me today is President and CEO of the Catholic League, Bill Donahue. Now, Bill, we had another busy week, as always, but this week we kind of had a theme going through all of our stories that involved human sexuality, and let's start with the beginning of the week here. Last weekend, former disgraced governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, began launching his great comeback tour. That's really going to make a big difference. And he decided to go to a black church over the weekend and talk about how he is the victim of all sorts of just injustices. What was your problem with that?
Well, we wouldn't allow him to do that in the Catholic Church. We
No.
have a liturgy in the Catholic Church, and so we don't allow people to come in and grandstand. So he cherry picked this black church because he knows the pastor there, and he gave him a job at one point. He has no respect for these people, because if he did, he would allow them to pray. He came in there to talk about how he's a victim. This man has spent $369,000 of his $16 million that he has available that he can spend in trying to reboot himself. I don't think it's going to work, but it had been one thing if he had apologized to all the women whom he's accused of being a sexual predator. But no, he just comes in there and say he's a victim, his brother Chris is a victim, and so on. I don't think anybody believes him. The man's a narcissist. He's arrogant. He's corrupt, and I think that what he did to the black congregants, they didn't come for him.
Right.
They came for him, not for that guy. And so, but yeah, the sexuality element is obvious there, because both he and his brother have had accusations made against them by women. So that's quite a pair.
Yes, and to then take advantage of the churchgoers
Sure,
is just
exactly.
just beyond the pale. Now, Bill, you had a very good, I thought, a fantastic piece this week, and it's up on our website right now, dear viewer, if you'd like to check it out, catholicleague.org. We'll have a link in the description below. But Bill, it was titled "Why Relevant Religions Are Irrelevant," which sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, but can you talk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, I get this all the time. People say, well, shouldn't the church become more accommodating and welcome? And the way to get young people back is to just simply basically succumb to the culture and change your teachings on marriage, sexuality, and the like. Well, if you wanted to kill a religion, that's what you would do. And this is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of evidence. The evidence is clear that in the Catholic religion, those dioceses which are the most orthodox tend to have the least problem with keeping their members. The orders of nuns and priests, which are quite orthodox, are not having a problem getting new recruits. The obverse is true. The more heterodox, or the more you reject Catholic Church's teachings, those dioceses, orders of priests and nuns, they're the ones fading out. It's also true in the Protestant religions. Look what's happened to the numbers. They're in free fall. The Protestant mainline religions, Presbyterianism, Methodism, Lutheranism, the Episcopalians, they're losing members very quickly because their teachings are indistinguishable from the editorials in the New York Times and the Washington Post. People want something special. In the Jewish religion, amongst the three branches, the Reform, the Conservative, and the Orthodox are the ones who are gaining, not the Reform and the Conservative. People want to belong to something special. There's nothing special about belonging to a religion which basically has bled its teachings into that of the dominant culture. They've accepted everything the dominant culture says. And now, there was another element to this, too, which triggered this.
Yes, and I'm sure our viewer probably is not familiar with what's going on in Finland. There's a lot of current events going on in the world in that region, but a Lutheran bishop in Finland, and actually the former Minister of the Interior, current member of Parliament there, were involved in a conference a few years back, and they were discussing biblical truths. And one of the things that they stood up for was the traditional family, that marriage is defined between a man and a woman. And now they are on trial for hate crimes. They're waiting for a jury verdict, and everything is very stacked up against them. But Bill, you raised a good point about the Lutheran bishop here, that he took some condemnation of the church itself, that they're a state
Right.
church, and that they have become so involved in the aspects of promoting the dominant culture in Finland that they have lost their way.
And I'm going to address that in just a second. What you said is accurate. I want to punctuate that, because I don't know if the viewers really understand. Mike said is absolutely accurate. It's astonishing. a Lutheran bishop and a woman public official are on trial in Finland, a so-called free country, because they believe in the biblical teaching that marriage should be between a man and a woman. They're on trial. They may go to prison for 2 years. So this is madness. This is a fascistic impulse there. Now, what the Finnish bishop said is that one of the reasons why they're on trial really is because the Lutheran Church in Finland no longer holds to the biblical teachings. They're the ones now who have gone the way of the dominant culture. So there's where religion becomes increasingly irrelevant once you become heterodox. So
Yeah.
there's the tie in there.
Absolutely. Now, this week, we're celebrating the Communist holiday. I don't know why, but on March 8th was Women's International Day of Recognition and whatnot. And to celebrate this, the Biden administration put out a very interesting statement dealing on what they have done for women's rights. And like all Washington papers, they talk about raising the minimum wage and all these things that don't necessarily impact women, but good for everybody, I guess. But you raised a very good point, though, Bill, looking at how it really focused only on a certain subset of women and also pretend women.
Yeah, I mean, they're obsessed with sexuality, abortion. 5 of their 33 different initiatives deal with abortion. 10 of them deal with transgender. What about the housewife? They don't
Right.
speak about her. What about a woman who's homeschooling her children? They're not even mentioned in this. Again, there's this myopia. They're only interested in that which affects sexuality. They're not really interested in women per se. And that's why it's an affront to our intelligence to say that they're speaking for women. They're not speaking for women, a very small subset.
Absolutely. And Bill, probably a big issue. We were talking about this last week on the show, but we had to take it to the next level. It involves Twitter. We told you last week about how Twitter is censoring people for all sorts of biblical truths, again, just like in Finland, but this time it's the private sector. And Twitter, they went after Vicky Hartzler from Missouri, who's running for Senate there, who just put out a very innocuous statement that a man is a man, a woman is a woman, women's sport are for women.
Right.
But very simple. But this week we had to take it to the next level because Twitter's not backing down. They're continuing to censor particularly people of faith. So can you tell us what actions we took this week?
Yes, and by the way, I wouldn't care if she's a Republican or Democrat or anything. We don't even know anything about the woman. You had heard about her at least. So we're not trying to help anybody out per se. Our argument here is this: there's an abuse of power on the part of big tech, and Facebook and Twitter and Google, and they are censoring the views of conservatives, but nobody else. They shouldn't be in the business of doing that. I mean, if they want to have some tight rules and abide by them, that's one thing. By the way, Twitter does have some rules. The rules about hateful speech. I didn't have an objection to it. It's just that nothing that this woman said about how men should compete against men in sports could possibly be considered hateful speech or conduct. So we asked the CEO, head of Twitter, to identify what part of their own policy she violated, because this is a game that has to stop. Catholics are called to tell the truth. And that's what drives us to deal with this issue, besides the fact that we don't like being lied to and having our voice censored. They haven't censored us, but they've censored individuals, and that's enough for us to get involved.
Yes. And, dear viewer, there's a great way for you to get involved in this one. If you go to our website, CatholicLeague.org, do be sure to check out this story because we have a link to the email of the CEO of Twitter so you can make sure your voice is heard. Take a stand, make sure that these biblical truths that people are innocuously saying, not in an aggressive way, not just stating facts, are being censored. And the only way that we can really push back on this culture, Bill, right, is you say this all the time. We're the generals, but we need the troops.
Absolutely.
We need the digital boots on the ground in order to make a difference here. So
Absolutely.
do check out our website, CatholicLeague.org, and check out this story. Now, Bill, you've got your Patty's Day tie on. I've got my Patty's Day tie on. So next week is St. Patrick's Day, big day.
The
for
Irish
the
Mafia
League.
here, yeah, at the Catholic League. We have a few others, though. We're not all Irish, that's for sure.
No. We got a good cross representation here of all Catholics.
We're probably more diverse than a lot of these idiots in these corporations who talk about it all the time.
Absolutely. So, dear viewer, thank you again for watching. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and we'll see you next time.
Great.